The 4-2 NFC East leading Washington Commanders come back home to face the 1-5 Carolina Panthers, and we have the host of the Bleav in Carolina show, Desmond Johnson, to give us an inside look at the Week 7 matchup. Let's go. And we're now happy to be joined by Tobacco Road Sports Radio's Desmond Johnson, host of the Bleav in Carolina show, and we're going to bring him in now. We got to move some things around. Bleav Adam here. Take that away. There you go. Welcome, Desmond, to the show here on Ref the District.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing tonight?
Yeah.
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm a Panther fan, so I'm doing right now.
Look, I mean, we want to feel bad for you, but we've been in your position for many years, so we don't feel that bad for you. But I was thinking about this when I was prepping for this show. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan right now, whose jersey are you going out and buying? Is there anybody? I mean, obviously it would have been Bryce there for a while, but
I mean, even when Bryce was playing, there was still like 50-50 with the fans not sure if he was the right fit. Like it always felt like they were kind of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, sort of, from the very beginning. That's why he got yanked so quick at the beginning of this year. This wasn't a 2-game evaluation. This was an 18-game evaluation over 2 seasons, and he regressed. He literally regressed in front of our eyes. So shout out to head coach Dave Canales, first-time head coach, taking the initiative to see that he could potentially lose the locker room early in a 17-game season, and a lot of it was due to the play of the quarterback. Like, he literally looked like a high school quarterback the first 2 games of the season. So yanking him, putting in Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, gave us a little bit of a spark. I heard you guys talking about that Raider game. They literally just jumped on the Raiders early. Like, their game plan early, they scored early. They continued to score. They didn't make a lot of mistakes, and the defense basically did their job. And one of the things that people aren't talking about this Carolina Panthers team, even though they're 1-5, ever since Dalton got put into the lineup, they have been playing competitive football. They have not quit. They have not given up on this season. There's still 11 games to go in this season, and they're in the NFC South. So they have not given up. They're just still trying to figure out ways to win, to finish out games. It's really more of a situation of they don't have enough bullets. That's basically what it is, especially on defense. That Falcons game, the score looks slanted. I mean, they lost by 18, but that was a 5-point game at the start of the fourth quarter. Like, they just ran out of they just ran out of bodies, literally, and Atlanta just kind of slowly pulled away. So this Carolina team, they have to jump out on you fast. They are not a come from behind team. They just don't have enough ammo to really do that. But the Panther fan base, we've gotten to the point really over the past couple of weeks where it was more, we just want competitive football. Like, at this point, we just want to see competitive football. Like, if we lose, we get it. We were 2-15 last year. We're in the middle of a huge rebuild. It's going to take a couple of drafts, a couple of off seasons for them to really get this right, because not just the previous regime, but this roster has been damaged by the last 2 or 3 regimes, like, in a row, like, in terms of what they did, searching for a quick fix quarterback and just trading away draft picks in the middle of the rounds. And now that's coming home to roost because there's no depth. Skylar Callahan, who's our co-host on Bleav in Carolina Panthers, who's the beat writer for Sports Illustrated for the Panthers, he mentions this the past 2 seasons in the preseason, that there's just not enough depth on this roster. And then if you get a couple people hurt, Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson, guys that are leaders that this defense will look completely different with. Ejiro Evero's coming in this gunfight with a gun with a couple of bullets in it, and he's going to shoot it early. And after that, I don't know. I don't know. So that's kind of the thing. I will say this, though. This Carolina team is a dangerous team to overlook because there's nothing more dangerous than a team like Carolina in their situation going on the road with absolutely nothing to lose. Like, literally, the entire nation expects them to lose this football game, pretty much every football game that they play going forward. And they know that. So they're going into these games playing with practice squad guys right off the street, guys that got signed 5 days ago, just trying to keep the roster at 53. But this game is interesting to me. It's a really interesting game because of who you have at quarterback.
Ooh, so why does that make it interesting with who you have at quarterback?
Well, last year, Carolina was in a similar situation with Bryce Young at quarterback, and a really hot rookie quarterback came to town by the name of C.J. Stroud. And when he came to town, pretty much everyone wrote off us. Matter of fact, I did a hit for the Bleav in Texans show a couple days prior. Actually, I think it was me and Stu. And we had them on, and they were like, "There's just no way. There's no way Carolina's going to we don't give them any chance to win." And they rattled that rookie quarterback. Like the only thing I think they really have going for him is that Jaylen Daniels has yet to really have a bad game, and he's going to have one. He's a rookie quarterback. It's going to happen. It doesn't matter where it's going to happen. I think it can happen Sunday. I really do. I think they can really show him some things he hasn't seen yet in terms of pressure, in terms of being able to defend some of these wide receivers. J.C. Horn, when healthy, is probably a top 10 cornerback in the league. He just hasn't been healthy until this year. And he's getting a chance to really show what he can do now. He's probably the best defensive player we have active right now. And I would imagine Washington's going to throw away from him as they've done the past couple of weeks. But there's some dudes in the back that can do some things. And I would imagine Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator, who was a hot name for the past 3 or 4 years in the coaching circles, I haven't lost faith in his ability to coach a defense, regardless of the names in the back. And depending on who they get back, whoever's going to be available, I think they can rattle Daniels in the first half in particular if Washington slips into just trying to pass the football on this Panther team, similar to what they did to Stroud last year.
Yeah,
I think that game away. They won 9-7 over Houston. So that's what we're holding on to. That rookie quarterback. We can. There's some light here. We can do some stuff here. Maybe.
I'll be honest. I'm surprised to hear you speak. Pretty positively, not just about the team as a whole, but against Washington's offense. I mean, you obviously can look in the past at Washington. You say it doesn't really matter what's going on with their offense. They're bound to kind of screw it up at some point. This team is obviously a lot different with Jaylen Daniels being the quarterback he is. I mean, they're third in scoring, fifth in total offense. And they really, like you said, Jaylen Daniels really hasn't had that bad game yet. I'm trying to figure out why you think this would be, specifically why this would be the week that Carolina, of all teams, who are 32nd in the league defensively, how they're going to all of a sudden stop Jaylen Daniels.
Well, I didn't say they're going to stop him. I just said that this would be the best chance to. Yeah.
Okay.
This is their best shot to try to do, if they do that early. It's the NFL. It's not college football. So to me, any given Sunday, the worst team in the league can defeat the best team in the league. Well, probably not the Chiefs, but I mean,
Sure.
it's an even playing field. Any given Sunday, a team that's hot can come out and just throw out a dud. Any given Sunday, a team can come out that's just been right there on the cusp of trying to win, and they find a way to win. And to me, I think it's even better that they're on the road. Carolina is one of the franchises where their stadium gets taken over by visitors a lot, especially when they're having bad seasons. You see terrible towels from Pittsburgh. You see Cowboys fans there. I've been to Carolina games where there's been Steeler fans walking around uptown Charlotte, and the Steelers aren't even in town. They're just out there waving towels and like screaming at each other. Pittsburgh. It's like, what are y'all doing? Like, Pittsburgh's in Cleveland this week. But it's one of those type of venues where the home crowd can be stifled by the visiting crowd very quickly. So going into a visiting game, I think just being around football players of different levels, it's a different type of preparation going away and having to focus on the task at hand as opposed to getting up out of your own bed and doing your regular routine, that kind of thing. Maybe a little bit more relaxed. I feel like they might have a little bit more edge to them. I'm not saying they're going to win the game. Matter of fact, I think we predicted that Washington would end up winning this football game, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as the national media and pundits have made it out to be. Again, this Carolina team is very feisty. They're going to give you a game regardless of who's out there playing, and the offense is relatively intact. We've tried to throw out the first 2 games. There were just complete disasters in terms of offensively doing football. If you look at everything from week 3 onward, Chuba Hubbard's averaging like 6 yards a carry. They're just not giving him the ball enough. He's not getting 20 plus carries a game. I think 18 he got the other week, and Sunday he only got like 10. Got 60 yards. He's averaging 6 yards per carry, but it got the game again gets away from them, and they have to start throwing the football down the field. And honestly, Andy Dalton just kind of forced 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter, chasing the lead as it was slipping away. And that's why that score got to the way it was. He threw 2 interceptions that were in Falcon territory, and they had 2 quick scores, and the score ended up being 38-20. But again, that was a 5-point game going into the fourth, and the Panthers led in the first half. So, I mean, it wasn't like a blowout all the way through. It was a competitive game. I would expect a competitive game on Sunday too.
So yeah, that kind of leads into my next question. I know you expect and the fans expect the competitiveness, but at 1-5, what do the players expect for the rest of the season? Like, are they still trying to make the playoffs, or they just want to be in games and be competitive and just see what happens?
Well, Stu made a great point because our fan base, we're used to mock drafts in October and stuff like that. Like lately, like they're already looking at Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter and all these guys, and I'm like, it's week 7, it's week 8. What are y'all doing? We got like 11 games to go here. Like, come on, guys, let's get it together. And Stu has always been the one to be like, NFL players don't tank. Like, you can't tank. If you're an NFL team, it's impossible to get 53 guys to collectively be like, we're going to play our worst so we can luck into a high draft pick, and this one kid's going to come in and save the franchise. Like, this is not how NFL players are wired. Like, it just doesn't work that way. He's like, you've got guys out here, the average NFL career is like 2.5 years or something like that. There's guys that need tape. Like, their jobs are on the line. Like, they may not be in Carolina next year. They may not be anywhere next year, and they have to make sure they look good to go forward with whatever general manager Dan Morgan and Dave Canales are building here. I do feel like the players understand that are here right now that this is different than when Frank Wright was here, or even when Matt Rule was here, where it's just a different kind of rebuild. When you have Dan Morgan in the general manager position in the front office, a former Panther, he's been very adamant about the type of players that he wants to bring in here. Dogs, as Stu had coined them, and he had mentioned in his first press conference. And he's drafted a few of those guys. Trevin Wallace, keeping an eye on him, the middle linebacker that's had the rookie middle linebacker they drafted in the 3rd round that has had to play due to Shaq Thompson's season-ending injury. He's one of those guys. Chuba Hubbard, dog. He's one of those guys. Like, there's bits and pieces, but again, it's going to take some time for them to really flesh out this roster. But I do think the players and the coaching staff Bleav in what they're trying to build. They just understand that, it's going to take a little bit more time to do it. But you can't tell a Panther fan that, because we've been waiting. Was Cam Newton really 7 years ago? Like, I mean, that was the last time we really had a playoff team, like 2017. So it's been a drought, and we've gone through it. We've had 3 head coaches, 2 interim head coaches, not counting Ron Rivera, who was here when Tepper first bought the team. It's been turnover after turnover, and I think we've landed on our head coach. I do feel like Dave Canales is the right guy this time around, and he's in lockstep with Dan Morgan. They've worked together in Seattle. It feels like they're putting this together. Tepper's kind of, for the most part, been out of sight, stayed out the way. I know that's the national narrative, that he's a meddling owner that's impatient and the Scooby-Doo villain of sorts, but I think he just wants to win. He's just used to getting things quickly, and he realized he can't do it quickly, and now he's turned it over to the right folks, and he's stepped out the way. So it's just going to be a matter of time. But again, with Carolina, their health is their main issue right now. They just don't have enough players to really go into a game confidently, and for me to be like, oh, they're going to win this game. This is a winnable game. We were looking at this Washington game in the preseason thinking, yeah, we should win that football game. Like, before we even knew what Jaylen Daniels was going to look like and everything else, we were looking at, this is an easy part of our schedule. We go up there, get a win. And so we 1-5 later, it turns into a game where it's like, we got to go play Jaylen Daniels. So it's crazy.
From our guy, Uptown Dre, he says, yo, Des, will Bryce Young get another opportunity to play again this season? Not when we're not talking injury, but in terms of giving him a shot to see if he can kind of figure it out.
That's the $1 million question right now in Carolina. I would say no. That I've had this theory that Dave Canales saw that Bryce Young had regression before we even got to week 1. Like, you don't yank a guy week 2 and go, well, he's not playing right, I'm gonna put this guy in, he's our starter, unless you've had an inkling that this was coming down the line. There's a reason why I think Bryce Young didn't play in the preseason. We got a lot of word salad and excuses why he didn't play. I think he didn't play because they were protecting him. I don't think he was really ready, and he was slow to learn this Dave Canales offense. And I think what ended up happening, Canales and Dan Morgan went to David Tepper probably right towards the end of preseason, maybe right before week 3, and told him, hey, we want to start Andy Dalton week 1 over Bryce Young. And I think Tepper was basically like, well, let's give him a couple games, see if it's truly what it is. And then if it's really the way you're saying, then, it's okay. We'll make the switch. And that's exactly what happened. I think he played worse than they expected him to. Bryce is broken currently right now. I don't know if putting him back in would actually help anything. He's going to look the same as he did weeks 1 and 2. He might look a little better, but he had issues that had nothing to do with what was around him. Like, he was leaving the pocket in 2 seconds or less. And we think it's PTSD from last year when It was just a walking turnstile, the offensive line. Funny thing is now Carolina's offensive line might be their strongest position group. They're ranked like top 5 in PFF this year, which is amazing. They dumped all their money into the offensive line, really, and it's shown through Chuba Hurt's running. Andy Dalton's comfortable back there. So it was really a Bryce thing. So I don't know if they put him out there at all. It would have to be the season is just completely shot, and they're trying to increase his trade value. Because I do Bleav that Bryce is probably done in Carolina. I do think that they'll try to ship him off next year in the offseason. Can't really get much for him right now, which is why he's probably still on the roster. You probably maybe can get a 5th or a 6th for him, maybe if you're lucky. But considering what Carolina gave up for him, you just can't do that. I mean, you gave up DJ Moore, you gave up 2 first-round picks, you gave up a 2nd, you gave up a 4th. You gave up all this stuff to move up 8 spots to draft this kid, and then to just take a 4th to get him off the roster 18 games later. You can't do that. So he's going to be there, and he's in a good position to learn under Andy Dalton, and I think he will learn. But some of the things he says to the press and some of the things that he mentions about motivation, and he just seems shell-shocked. He doesn't seem very confident right now in his abilities, and we made this point too and Bleav in Panthers. Bryce Young, every level of football he's played, he's been successful at, highly successful, but every level he's played at, he's had 5 stars around him. Whether it was at Mater Day, his high school, which was the #1 ranked high school in the country.
Mm-hmm. Was that?
And now this is the first time. This is the first time where he's not surrounded by high-level talent, and Bryce Young is not the type of quarterback that can elevate talent. He's not a Cam Newton. He's not a guy that can come in and throw it to a Fozzie Whitaker or whatever and elevate the team. He can't take a team with spare parts and go 15-1. Like that's a unicorn. That's a Cam Newton. That's a Lamar Jackson. That's a
Jaylen Daniels.
Jaylen Daniels is potentially that in that area. CJ Stroud potentially in that area. Bryce ain't that guy. He's better than average, I think. But he has attributes that he just can't overcome, and I'm still worried about his size. He's having to jump to complete screen passes. Like that's alarming. He's throwing on his tippy toes just to get it over, like defenders jumping at him as he's running or whatever. That's not going to change. So I don't think that he's the quarterback that Dave Canales really wanted. I think Canales used that to get in the door, and now he can actually kind of build this thing the way he wants to. It's going to take David Tepper and Nicole Tepper basically swallowing their pride and realizing they made a mistake and cutting their losses. But it could be worse. We could be Cleveland. So, I mean, that's a way worse situation quarterback-wise than what Carolina's in right now. So,
to keep it going on the quarterback, what do you look for Andy Dalton to do to have success against this Washington defense coming up on Sunday?
Play within the downs, play ahead of the downs. Andy needs to go into Dave Canales' office and say, you need to give Chuba Hubbard 25 plus carries in this game, regardless of what the score is. Like, we need to play keep away from the Washington offense. We know they're highly ranked in most statistical categories offensively. The best defense for that is to keep them on the sideline. And what better way to do that than with a running back that's averaging 6 yards a carry? Like, literally, there was a stretch in the Falcons game in the fourth quarter where they ran Chuba 4 times. It was 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 5. I mean, literally, it was first down, and then they didn't hand it off to him the rest of the game. So it's literally they kind of forget he's there. Yeah. And I think if they don't forget that and make him the true workhorse, they can control the tempo of the game. And I think that would be what slows Washington down, is controlling the clock, owning ownership of the clock and keeping their offense off the field, keeping their defense tired, which in effect would keep Carolina's battered defense fairly rested, which they did last week until the second half, and then it kind of got away from them. So I think they understand what they need to do. I think they can do it against Washington. Do I expect them to? No, I don't know what to expect from Carolina at this point. Like, they could literally come out and score 36 like they did against the Raiders, or they can come out and do what they did last week. So I don't know, but that is there. That's the one thing that keeps me coming back to watch them, that opportunity does exist for them to score 36. We've seen them do it with this personnel. So versus a Raiders team that just beat Baltimore on the road the week before. So, I mean, they can play against other teams in the league. It's just a matter of not listening to the national pundit. You have to actually watch the Panthers actually play to understand they're not playing as poorly as like Cleveland. Like, if I had to pick the worst franchise right now, it's not Carolina. Carolina, to me, is trending up. Cleveland is doing this like I don't know what's going on out there, and I don't know how they get out of it, but it's not the worst situation. We were last year. We were the worst last year, but they're turning it around. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a competitive game Sunday.
All right, so Desmond, my last question for you. You've talked up pretty well what you think Carolina can possibly do against Washington. Now it's time to put it on the line. Give us your prediction of what the score is going to be and how it's going to get that way.
Yeah,
You got to put it on the line. You've been talking all about Carolina.
It's got to be a rock fight. It's got to be a rock fight. If they try to get into a shootout like they did last week, they don't have enough bullets to sustain that. It's got to be similar to, like I said last year, they beat Houston 9-7 in a literal rock fight. It was just Carolina had 3 field goals. Houston got a touchdown, but Carolina controlled the game. And in that game, it was around this time of the year last year, and they were banged up then too. Shaq was already out for the year last year. J.C. Horn was out for the year at that point last year. They were banged up in multiple areas, and they were still able to put together a defensive plan to rattle C.J. Stroud. If they can rattle Jaylen Daniels early, get the lead early, and play ahead as opposed to behind, I'm still going to pick the Commanders, but I'm going to go 17-13 Commanders, and it'll be tight throughout the game. Commanders will pull away in the fourth, I think, for that final margin. But this will be one of those games where at halftime, the booths or whatever will be saying, hey, what's going on in DC? Like, what's happening up there? It's just going to be one of those weird, wacky games where everything needs to go right for Carolina, basically, to go home with a win. But you get 1 or 2 of those each year, so they're due. And it sounds like I'm talking myself into it, and I kind of
it does a little bit.
That's the life of a Panther fan right now. I've been hosting Bleav in Panthers for the past 4 years. I was one of the first Bleav hosts. We have yet to have a winning season since I started hosting Bleav in Panthers, and I've gone through 4 head coaches in 4 years. So I'm a bit battered myself. But we do pride ourselves on being one of the few Panther podcasts that try to be more positive about what's going on as opposed to just dumping on them, which is why we go on Tuesdays. We let everybody get their stuff out on Sunday and Monday, dump on the team, dump on Tepper, dump on Canales. Then we come in Tuesday morning and kind of clean up everything and give some perspective. It wasn't that bad. We went back and watched it and that kind of thing. So I felt better watching the Falcons replay than I did at the end of the game. When I went back and rewatched, I was like, you know what? Hey, this was actually a pretty close game. Like, they actually, in parts here, they were actually doing their thing. They just got away from some stuff that they were doing really well at. And I think that they'll look at that tape this week and realize, hey, we've been able to run the ball on pretty much whoever we want. Let's do that. Yeah. Let's run the ball. And if we can run the ball, we can keep Washington off the field. If they can do that, they can keep it close, and we'll go there. But I'll go 17-13.
All right.
Commanders.
17-13 Commanders. Trev, what do you got?
I got I like 30-13 Commanders.
30-13.
I think it'd be tight, like you said, halftime, 13-10, 13-3, whatever. But then they're not scoring anymore second half, and we're just going to put the foot on the gas and keep going.
I think it's going to be very similar to the Atlanta game for Carolina. It's going to be something they're going to keep fairly close throughout the game, and then Washington's depth is going to prevail into the fourth quarter. They're going to wear this defense out. Brian Robinson, our running back, should be back for this game, so we're going to establish the run a little bit better. Jaylen Daniels is going to be the Jaylen Daniels he has been for the first 6 games because we don't know anything otherwise. Right? We haven't seen anything otherwise, so we're going to stick with it until something different happens. So I'm going to go 38-20, exact score of the Atlanta game. I'm going to go 38-20 Washington. I think they've got a good shot at pulling away late in this game. Washington. Do you have any sort of issues with our scores that we have predicted? Basically blowouts.
Yeah, no, I kind of expect that. I will say that the noise you're hearing around the Panthers, they should trade like Deontay Johnson or Chuba Hubbard or whatever. I don't think they're going to do that. If anything, they're going to try to keep Deontay Johnson. That's kind of how they got in this hole in the first place. Trading guys off for pennies on the dollar and not getting back what they needed in return.
Oh, right, sure.
McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Brian Burns, like there were stars on this team. They traded them away.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, but I understand your logic with the scores.
Yeah. All right, Desmond, we appreciate your time here on Ref the District. That's Tobacco Road Sports Radio's Desmond Johnson, also the host of the Bleav in Panthers, Bleav in Carolina show. And Desmond, where can our fans of the Commanders find you and the work that you do, both with your radio show on social media and Bleav in Carolina?
You can find us. Bleav in Panthers. You can find us on X at Bleav in Panthers. We're live every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do open mailbags, so you can participate the same way you guys do here. I also run the Keep Pounding podcast network for Fans First Sports Network, so you can find that at KP Pounding Network on Twitter. And then, of course, Tobacco Road Sports Radio. We're here in Central North Carolina. We handle everything from we're the home for North Carolina A&T athletics. We're the producer for Charlotte Hornets radio network here in the Triad. We do a bunch of high school football here in the area. I think we've got 4 games live this Friday.
Nice.
You can follow us on Twitter at Tobacco Radio there for any kind of news on the Hornets, the Panthers, ACC hoops, you name it. If it's North Carolina centric, we probably got it over there. So definitely come check us out.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Desmond, for taking the time to join us here on Ref the District.
Thanks, guys.